Yeah, you can see these guys squabbling. Has sort of brought Kai de Bruin back into the fray. In fifth place currently is the Dutch driver in the R32 GTR. Dumont has made his way up to sixth position there, just behind him. So good recovery so far. But what an awesome lineup of cars. I always say this when we use these cars. It's so nice to see all these guys, all these cars on circuit together. This is what Gran Turismo for me is all about right now. Valerio Gallo leading the way in that NSX down on the straights. That looks like a rocket down the straights, Tom. That thing.
Yeah, it's pretty handy in a straight line, isn't it? That Honda NSX. So that's good news for him. Meanwhile, behind you see Serrano and Lopez. Oh, Serrano very sideways. There must have been contact going into that left-hander, because Serrano was fishtailing all over the shop going through there. Lopez still sitting in fourth place, and he's got that half-second penalty to serve, as we know, this time around. Dumont, meanwhile, has managed to escalate himself up a few places into fifth from eighth on the grid, and Sasaki likewise up from 10th into seventh position as well. There's a right gaggle of cars here. Oh, Jimmy, there's an R32 Nissan GTR. You might recognise that.
The best car in the field, I think, mate, honestly. So Kai de Bruin, of course, a man with taste, as he chases Kylian Dumont, and also another very cool car, the Mark IV Supra. So Supra versus Skyline. We're on board now with the Frenchman, Kylian Dumont, and there now is Kai de Bruin sitting just behind him. Can see the power of this thing down the straight there. 252, 62, 70 like it's nothing. 300 kph plus 200 mile an hour as we go into T1 there. Hard on the brakes. Now these cars, they are equipped with the racing hard compounder tyres, but they're definitely not racing cars. They don't have the same sort of agility as our Group 3 or Group 4 machines. So it's all power, and really just try and figure it out when you get to the corner.
Yeah, you can see Dumont there having a good run here on Coque Lopez coming through this first sector. I thought he might have a dive to the inside there, but Lopez defending that line quite nicely. Dumont tried to switch back and go for the sweeping line to gather more momentum as he came through the next series of corners. We'll find out if he's able to do so when we come through into this next left-hander and onto the straight. The exit through here is going to be absolutely critical. Slightly tighter line and a later apex there for Dumont as he tries to carry the speed through that corner, but the legs on that Ferrari looking pretty handy in a straight line as we go through the tunnel, burst briefly into the daylight, then into the darkness. Your eyes playing havoc with you as you adjust and you come back into the daylight, and we head into the braking zone of the next corner. Meanwhile, up in front, Serrano and Lopez are pretty close for company there as well. Sorry, Miyazono, I should say, and Serrano for second place. Serrano's managed to drop Lopez courtesy of the penalty for the Spaniard, and now Jose Serrano, 1/3 of the Nations Cup winners last year, right on the back of the 2020 champion.
Valerio Gallo sort of bolting away, though. Nearly a second between him and this man, Takuma Miyazono, and Jose Serrano just behind. I mean, these three drivers, the talent they share between them is insane. So fast in Gran Turismo 7 as we go on board with Jose Serrano, just trying to navigate his way through this tight and twisty part of the circuit, the last chicane. This is where these cars struggle the most, and then here's a bit they like the best. The big straight here, again in the tow. So great to see Honda versus Lamborghini versus AMG all on circuit at once. Cool, huh?
Oh, it's mega, isn't it? And also, you know, different drivetrains as well. You've got front engine, rear wheel drive, mid engine, rear wheel drive as well. So the different characteristics of that car will come into play at different points over the course of the lap. Meanwhile, Miyazono has got Serrano all over him like a bad rash. He's now got him underneath him as he goes through into the tunnel and into the left-hander. Serrano into second place, and now his next target will be race leader Valerio Gallo, who's some 1.5 seconds up the road.
You didn't put up too much of a fight there, did Miyazono? I think he just understood that, yeah, I've maybe fluffed this corner a bit. I'm just going to just open the steering, let Serrano through and chase for now. Let's see if we can catch Valerio Gallo. Behind these guys, by the way, is that man, Coque Lopez. He's just about fending off Kylian Dumont.
Let's see what is going to happen as the drivers prepare to do battle at Mount Panorama. And here is how the grid lines up ahead of the 22-lap strong race. Pole position, Kanata Kawakami for Lexus, put in a great lap time right at the end of the session. His compatriot and former world champion Takuma Miyazono for Subaru is alongside. Then it's Ryota Kokubun for Mazda heading row 2 with Nabatani for company. Next up is Tomoaki Yamanaka, a stalwart of the championship in the Toyota. He's got Lucas Bonelli in the Mercedes-AMG for company. Then it's Saya Suzuki in the BMW M6 with Sasaki in the Genesis alongside. Next up is Sato in the Audi. Not a particularly brilliant qualifying for them, but the big shock is Ferrari. Winners last time out, only 10th on the grid for this one. And championship leaders Porsche down in 11th place with Artemoso making a mistake on his lap. Gotto completes the 12-driver strong field. As we said, 3 different types of tyre compound available to the drivers. Kanata Kawakami here, Jimmy, going on the soft early. Seems like he wants to get away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, that is the strategy if you're out front. Use the soft, use that clean air and just try and drive into it. And the thing is, because no one's challenging him on that stint, no one's challenging him on the soft tyre there, that's going to be, he's going to be very happy to see that because it means he can just use that tyre to the best of its ability. Miyazono, the opposite strategy behind for Team Subaru, going for that hard tyre, as does Kokubun. So they're going to be the cork in the bottle for the guys in the mediums behind on that first lap over the mountain.
Certainly are. So coming through Murray's Corner, the final turn of this Mount Panorama circuit. Drivers are in place. There's Artemoso. He's got the weight of the world on his shoulders to try and hold on to Porsche for their championship lead. We're about ready to go racing then as the grand final of the Manufacturers' Cup is about to go green here at Mount Panorama. action is about to begin. World Series 3 here in Tokyo is underway. Kawakami leads the field down towards the first corner, followed by Miyazono and Cockburn. Through Hell Corner we go. On the run, up the mountain straight and in towards the mountain section we go for the first timer. Start there, of course, which is spreading the field out courtesy of the rolling start, meaning that we shouldn't see too much action in the first couple of corners, but as we come over the crest of the hill and it begins to tighten up as we head through in towards Griffin's Bend, that's where we'll see drivers getting very close to one another and maybe trying to launch a move before we go into the one-at-a-time section.
Say that already. Look at the gap between Kawakami and Kokubun, who's got through past Miyazono. They're really struggling for speed on that first lap, dropping down from P2 to P4. Kokubun out in front now on that hard tyre. Nabatani, the first of the medium runners, eager to get through as well. But look at the gap, 2 seconds already to Kawakami out front. This is exactly what he wanted.
Amazing start then from Kanata Kawakami. You can see here, Kokubun, he's going to be a bit of a cork in the bottle. Nabatani's on the medium tyres, so though they're not the fastest compound, they will be that bit quicker than Kokubun. Miyazono also on the hard tyres, struggling to get them up to temperature in the first few corners. Keep an eye out also for Yamanaka in the Toyota Supra. There is Kawakami putting out nearly 3 seconds by not even the end of the first lap. Through the Forest Elbow we go and down the Conrod Straight for the first time, and you can see how nose to tail it is throughout the rest of the field. Down the Conrod Straight we go. This is where we'll see the slipstream coming into effect and where we should see the medium shod runners breezing past the hard shod runners. Here is Yamanaka on the back of Miyazono. That Subaru's not ever been particularly quick in a straight line. Miyazono in the Toyota draws alongside his compatriot and goes through into 4th position before we've even reached the end of the straight and in towards the chase. Oh, and wide there as well for the Honda of Nabatani. Kokubun ready to try and take profit of it, but Nabatani just about manages to hold firm in second for now.
4 seconds is a gap on lap 1. Kawakami's just gone, all right, mate, I'm going to win this, see ya. He's just left the field behind. Obviously, a long race yet to go, but that's about as good a start as you can have, I think. Meanwhile, the battle for second and the rest of the hard and medium runners are pretty much all stuck together as we come onto Mountain Straight for the second time now. This is where we get to see the straight line speed in the cars. I mean, I think take a drink for every time we say that Subarus are going to struggle in a straight line, because that's going to be a big factor in this race.
Certainly is, and I tell you what, not a particularly brilliant start for the likes of Mosso and Hashima. They're still 10th and 11th as Yamanaka breezes past Miyazono heading in towards Griffin's Bend.
What can you do, though?
No, absolutely nothing. That's it. He's just a sitting duck at this point, isn't he? So Kawakami here, he's trying to break away from the rest of the field, isn't he? Well, he's already done that, 4.1 seconds. I think he's trying to channel his inner Igor Fraga. If you remember, what Igor loves to do is lead from the front, doesn't he? Doesn't like to get bothered by anything behind. And, well, he's clear as makes no difference from the rest of the field. He's not going to be bothered at all, is he?
Yeah, we had Igor Fraga here at our lovely venue, hyping up Kawakami before the race up on stage. So maybe...
2024 Gran Turismo World Series production cars tuned to the max in the beautiful conditions on this Tokyo Expressway circuit at night as well, just to add another element for the drivers to have to contend with. And here is how they line up on the grid. It's Takuma Miyazono in the Lamborghini, who's in pole position. Alongside him on the front row, the Audi R8 of Takuma Sasaki. Row 2 is headed by Angelina Stroza in the Mercedes-AMG Black Series, with Jose Serrano for company in the Ferrari F40. Next up, it's Kylian Drumont in the Pagani Huayra. And then you've got Koke Lopez in the Nissan Skyline GTR R34. Then the R32 Nismo Skyline of Kai de Bruin is in 7th with Valerio Gallo. He'll be happy with that. He loves a Honda. He's in the NSX in 8th position. Then it's Guy Barbara in the Nissan GTR R35. And then Toyota Supra is driven by Robbie Heck. Callum Roach, I should say, I beg your pardon, is in the Mazda RX-7. And Adriana Carrazza in the Nismo 400R lines up at the back of the field. No need to worry about tyres during this race, by the way. It's a flat-out sprint from start to finish. It is going to be action-packed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a straight fight, this. And as you saw from our little graphic earlier on, these cars are tuned to way over 1,000 horsepower. And you add the slipstream into that, and you have the speeds entering T1 over 400 kilometres an hour, or 250 mile an hour if you're that way inclined. So it's going to be, I think, chaotic down a T1 the first time through. If you get through there in one piece, I think you're in good stead for the race. But that's definitely going to be a challenge.
Certainly is, and the drivers, as we said, going to have to be contending with nighttime conditions, and we saw them practicing earlier on. They were oversteering, understeering, sliding about all over the place. It was quite dramatic, really. Yeah, it was very much so, but a lot of fun to watch. And of course, bear in mind, in this case, it's just a ton of fun to see these cars being represented. So the drivers getting ready to start. So then, it's time to go racing. The sprint race for Nations Cup here in Tokyo is underway. Miyazono leads the field across the timing line, then Sasaki in second, Inestrosa in third. You can guarantee that order will be changing by the first corner, and even within a few hundred metres it's changed, because Sasaki goes through into the race lead. Now Miyazono goes from being the hunter to, or being the hunted to being the hunter, rather, I should say. Serrano there lurking in the background, as well as Angelina Stroza. It funnels right down into turn one. Who's going to be last of the late breakers? Miyazono on the inside, then Sasaki and Serrano bang into the wall for Sasaki and also for Serrano. Inestrosa takes advantage and goes through into third position, and somehow, in all of the drama, Miyazono manages to retain the lead.
Yeah, I mean, they've had the brakes upgraded on these things, but I mean, slowing from that sort of speed is very, very difficult indeed. A couple of cars into the wall there. Miyazono out front from Sasaki, Inestrosa there in third, Serrano fourth, but as you can see, very, very tricky getting these production-based cars through this circuit. So much power being delivered to the wheels here. Some of these cars as well are rear-wheel drive, some are four-wheel drive. So there's an advantage there in traction zones, but of course in the corners they're going to be a bit more susceptible to understeer the four-wheel drive machines. But coming through this tight section for the first time, as we now come back up towards where we started our rolling start. And to be honest, you don't really want to be where Miyazono is unless you can get a big gap out front, because the slipstream, the toe in these cars is absolutely huge.
Yeah, certainly is. So let's see what's going to happen then here as we come down in towards the hairpin. They're not favourable on traction, these cars, at all, because the amount of power that's going through the rear axles, or indeed sometimes the front and the rear axles, you've got to be really, really ginger on the power. Someone's out well wide. That's Kai de Bruin, isn't it? Yeah, he's off into the centre of Tokyo, I think. He's ended up in Ginza or something along the lines of that, but manages to keep it righted and holds on to 8th position. On board we are here with Jose Serrano. Look at the power here of the Ferrari F40 as we go into the tunnel, and his next target will be Sasaki in front. So it's the two Japanese drivers now leading a Spaniard.
Look at that speed climb there, 360 kph before we came off board there, 390, there's 400 kilometres an hour off the end of the speedo, and then some is this F40. I mean, I love two, to be honest, at this point. It's very, very quick to T1. Do they all get it stopped in time this time through? They do, and Kai de Bruin almost getting it wrong in the skyline, almost going to the back of Jose Serrano there, but Sasaki up into the lead now, of course, after that slipstream opportunity. But you're seeing these cars are insane. I mean, you have to belong to a very special club to be in one of these cars, Tom.
Certainly do. On board we are, or we are looking rather, I should say. The crowd are going to be on their feet for this one, I'm sure. The grand final of the Nations Cup is along the way. Red Bull X 2019's at Grand Valley Highway 1. Let's see what happens as we get ready for our last event before the World Finals in December. Here's the grid then. Takuma Miyazono lines up on pole position after taking victory in the sprint race by 0.03 of a second from this man, Valerio Gallo. Alongside him on the front row there, with Sasaki heading row 2 and Jose Serrano alongside on row 2 alongside him as there. Row 3 is headed by Angel Inestrosa, the Chilean driver, with Callum Roach. Good performance for him in the sprint race to qualify in 6th position ahead of Guy Barbara, the Australian. Next up, you've got Adriano Carrazza. He'll be hoping for good fortune here tonight. Robbie Heck down in 9th position on the grid. But then we've got a couple of outliers. Kylian Drumont, didn't expect to see him quite as far down the order in 10th position. And Koke Lopez, the man who leads the championship, down in 11th with Kai de Bruyne, the unlucky Dutchman for company. Now, our first look at the tyre strategy. Unsurprisingly there, Takuma Miyazono going on the soft compound of tyre. He wants to do what we saw in the Manufacturers' Cup a couple of hours ago, Jimmy, and break away early.
Yeah, very similar strat here. I mean, basically, if you're at the front, go for the soft tyre, break away, try and use that in the space you have in front of you, and just hope you don't get overtaken by the car behind. That is worst case scenario for Miyazono, so he needs to lead this first stint. Likewise, on the other side of the coin, we've got Guy Barbara, Robbie Heck, Drumont, Koke Lopez and Kai de Bruyne all opting to start on that hard compound tyre towards the back of the field, get out of the way early while you're in traffic, and then get onto that fast tyre later on.
Well, let's see what is going to happen. There is Angel Inestrosa, the Chilean driver, returning from injury after breaking his leg last year, and he's back to full fitness now. We'll see whether he is going to be able to get the cat amongst the pigeons and crucially get himself off the bottom of the scoreboard. It's going to be all eyes on the lights in a few moments' time. Nations Cup action about to begin then here for the grand final. 27 laps of action begins now as Takuma Miyazono leads the field across the line, followed by Gallo and Sasaki coming down in towards turn 2. This is the first big heavy braking zone. The field, of course, a fair bit spread out due to that rolling start, and Miyazono with a lot more grip underneath him as well, courtesy of those soft tyres. Let's see what happens with the medium shod runners. Will they start squabbling amongst themselves, or will they start playing it safe in the early stages of this race? Either way, it's Miyazono that leads the way and in front through the first few corners. Inestrosa there having a half look to the inside, but also then gets in turn overtaken by Callum Roach.
He actually had contact there with Sasaki, which put him back into the field, so already the first move we've seen, possible contact. In fact, there was contact as Stuart's having a look at that right now, but to be honest, just this first lap stuff, you know, it is what it is. But you see the cars snaking through this mid-section. Callum Roach up into 4th place there. Great start from the American driver, so him stamping his intent fairly quickly is Callum, as we now come on to this little mini back straight here. Opportunity to overtake if you're close enough using the draft. Will Callum Roach do that on Sasaki here? Is he try? Because we've seen Roach before in these X2019s. He's pretty quick in these, so one to watch, I think.
Yeah, he needs to have some good fortune. He hasn't had any of that so far this year, has Callum Roach, another driver who's not off the bottom of the scoreboard. You can see the advantage of that soft compound of tyre, 1.5 seconds, and we're not even at the end of the first lap here for Takuma Miyazono. Gallo building a bit of a gap though to Sasaki in 3rd position. The slipstream range about 1.2 seconds or so, and Gallo's trying to break out of that slipstream range. You can see coming down the start-finish straight here, Roach right on the wheel tracks here of Takuma Sasaki. I think he's a bit far away, and we see a smorgasbord of hard tyre shod runners. Barbara, Drumont, De Bruyne and Lopez all getting off that hard tyre as soon as they possibly can. They're going on to the mediums by the looks of things.
Well, that says one or two things. Either they're very confident the medium tyre can go a long way in this race, as can the soft, or there's going to be a free stop for a double soft, as we've seen in a couple of races before. Koke Lopez, unsurprisingly, coming in straight away. This is someone who needs to get out of the pits and have some clear area. I'm not sure he's going to, though. Everyone's pitting at the same time. Then where is Koke? He's towards the back of this pack, isn't he? So yeah, some people have tried the same thing, but we'll see if it works out.
He's going to have a little bit of work to do here, is Koke Lopez. You can see them down there in 12th position, but what's the gap relative to the rest of the field? It's not going to be a great deal, is it? Guy Barbara just getting overtaken there by Kylian Drumont as the rest of that field filters on through. Let's have a look here with Roach, Inestrosa, Serrano. So Inestrosa biffed it up the inside. He was too late on the brakes into Sasaki. And Serrano just an innocent passenger there, but Roach saw the doors opening like the seas were parting and walked straight through it.
That almost worked. Sasaki wasn't there. it would have been fine, basically.
So it didn't work then, is what we're saying?
Almost, you know, it's what it is. Sasaki, meanwhile, managing to close that gap a little bit to Valerio Gallo. at the end of lap 2 there. Important to do that, I think, because Ennis Rose there getting a 1 second penalty. To be fair, that is consistent with what the stewards have done so far, so not entirely surprised to see that.
Yeah, no surprise at all there. Here is Jose Serrano, 1/3 of the Nations Cup lineup which won the title in 2023. Back when that was a team-based competition, for 2024, it is an individual competition. It's winner takes all stakes. And we look forward to seeing what is going to happen in the World Finals. Takuma Sasaki still with Callum Roach right on his rear wing as he tries to find his way past. At the moment, they're all being relatively well behaved as it stands for now. You can see a fair big gap there back to Drummond. Of course, they've all made their pit stops, as we know, but 25 seconds or so. So Drummond with a nice bit of clear air in front of him, but he's not got too much of a time to sit there and think about it because he's got Barbara De Bruyne very close behind. Lopez, in turn, is about 3 or so seconds off the back of that field at the moment, so he can run relatively comfortably for the time being, but if he does pick up the pace, he'll begin to get into the dirty air, which, as we know, is quite prominent on these heavy downforce cars.
Yeah, of course. So always good to keep that in mind. So good to note, by the way, our current Nations Cup standings. We have 6 drivers who are sort of within touching distance of the lead. We've got Coco Lopez leading on 8 points, Valerio Gallo 7, Miyazono 6, then Drummond, De Bruyne and Serrano all on 5 points apiece. So either of these drivers with a good result today could see themselves rocket to the top of the order. It's been a very close season so far, and this is, I think, going to continue into the grand final.
I just love this circuit as well. The fantastic atmospherics. Of course, it is a fictional track, but it's based on a real-life location, the Grand Valley Highway, and just the scenery is beautiful, especially as you head over that viaduct in particular. The wide shot there making these cars looking absolutely resplendent in the sunshine. Roach still keeping tabs here with Takuma Sasaki, not letting him have a lot of breathing room at all.
I was going to say on the circuit, I was going to sort of get my my glasses on, the Yananoids, and say that I'm not quite sure it to be a grade 1 circuit with these cars. Tom, there's not much runoff there. It's literally a cliff there.
Yeah.
If you get it wrong.
That's a rally stage.
Yeah,
right?
that is. Luckily, none of our guys testing whether the X-Pool 2019 can fly or not. For now, anyway. Coco Lopez going from bad to worse for him. Looking down at that. 12th place, 4 seconds off the back. What do you do if you're Coco Lopez? I mean, he's our current Nations Cup leader. I've got a feeling he won't be after this race.
No, it's a very good opportunity for others to capitalise. Miyazono, Gallo, all within touching distance. Gallo on 7 points, Miyazono on 6 points, despite failing to score last time out in the second round of the championship in Prague. So we'll see whether he's able to take advantage of that. But like you say, Lopez, it needs a minor miracle at the moment. There is Adriano Carrazza sitting in 6th position for now. Kind of in no man's land really at the moment, because Jose Serrano is up ahead of him by about 1.7 seconds or so. Yeah,
so, I mean, not much you can really do at the moment in that scenario. But Miyazono, 5 seconds to the lead now, and Gallo's just been passed, actually, by Sasaki. We've just missed that on screen. I think it's just ahead of us right now using the slipstream. So Gallo down to 3rd place, Sasaki up into 2nd, but Roach there as well. So these 3 cars really close for 2nd place right now. And they need to be careful about this. And we say this so often that obviously you're a racing driver, you want to be as high up the order as possible, but if you're squabbling every corner, you're just giving time away to the cars around you who are not doing that, who are driving on the ideal racing line, not having to brake earlier or later. So you have to really make sure the move is worth making before you make it here.
Yeah, Miyazono putting an absolute cracker of a strategy at the moment so far. You can see there 5 seconds he's got in 5 laps or so he's putting a good chunk of time compared to the rest of the field. The question is, how much is he putting into his tyres? How long are they going to last? Because, of course, the mediums will be longer. They're a harder compound, relatively speaking. But of course, the converse with that is that they are slower over the course of 1 lap. So we'll see how that's going to pan out for Miyazono and when those tyres will start to degrade to the point where they don't have any performance advantage over the medium shod runners. Just to give you an idea of how much quicker Miyazono was, last lap around a 1:27.159, Sasaki a 1:27.748, so about 0.6 of a second or so to the good of his compatriot. Let's have a look here at Sasaki versus Gallo then. So this is through the right-hander on towards the start-finish straight, and a big snap of oversteer there for Gallo.
He did well to gather that up. That could have very easily been similar to what we've seen with Kylian Drummond all the way back in Montreal, where he spun it just coming out of the corner. These cars, a lot of horsepower, over 800 brake horsepower in these cars, and these guys don't like running the TC, so imagine trying to control that every lap with tyres that are getting steadily worse, and you can see Gallo's problem. And to add to that, Callum Roach is now part part of Gallo's problem as we come down to T1. That little kink there, I think, saves a lot of people into the first corner.
No doubt about it.
It turns it into a bit of a one-line corner, that. So this corner coming down here, T6, the hairpin, though, isn't a one-line corner. Let's see if Callum Roach in front can do anything. We're on board with Jose Serrano. Good viewing seats here for Jose Serrano, but he's going to be a bit higher right now, although to his credit, seems to have the best tyre condition of all the drivers around him on our information we have here. So just whisper into those medium tyres at the moment.
I'm loving this gyro-style cam that we're using here in the GT World Series. We've been using it for a good number of years. Have you noticed Formula 1 have started using it?
Yes, oh no, penalty.
Yeah, so what's happened there?
Must have been track limits somewhere. 1 second penalty, so he must have just taken a little bit too much out of one of the corners. Very easy to do that around here. Track limits very strict in these GT World Series events because, trust me, if there's an advantage to be had, well, these drivers will find it. And the series right on that. That 1 second penalty, it's not really a 1 second penalty though, is it, Tom?
No, because it's about 1.5 seconds. You lose all the time and the speed as a result of taking that penalty, because of course your car slows down to a set speed. So Miyazono, it's not put him on the back foot as such, because he's still got a healthy margin. He'll still manage to retain the lead, but all of the advantage that he's built up, 5.5 seconds or so there and thereabouts, is just being washed away. Now let's have a look and see what happened here. So this will be one example of extending the track limits. Oh, he just hit the wall on the outside there. And that will just, again, that'll be one example, because it's all awarded in the game. It's not done by the stewards one. So essentially they'll be accruing all these incidents over the course of it. So that's just, let's say, one example of it.
So strict, isn't it? I mean, these guys are the best in the world, so you expect that from them, but it can be very easy to make that mistake, and really definitely punished here for Miyazono. You can see there how we work our penalty system there. You cross the penalty line, the car has to slow down for a second, then you get back on the gas again. So that time slowing down, that time speeding up, all takes away from the cars around you. Still on board here with Jose Serrano, still in the same place as he was last lap. But again, just looking after those tyres, I think this is a sensible thing to do in this position. If the cars in front of you aren't that slow, moving at a good pace, just keep the tyres alive, stay within touching distance, maybe also save a bit of fuel. That's going to be a big part of this race here. There's going to be 35 litres or so of extra fuel needed for these guys over the course of the race distance, and it's 3 litres per second, isn't it? Sorry, I did get it right in the end.
It's going to take about 20 seconds or so to fill the car up, isn't it, there and thereabouts, or possibly even a little bit more than that, come to think of it.
So if you can save 3 litres, you get yourself a 3 seconds.
Absolutely, which is night and day in a race.
Yeah, which is something that Miyazono just lost.
Yeah, exactly. So, Miyazono isn't still leads, but look at those rear tyres. They're now coming towards the end of their useful life, and indeed, he comes into the pit lane then at the end of lap 7. So we're going to have a new leader. It'll be Takumi Sasaki, followed by Valerio Gallo. The question is, where does Miyazono emerge in relation to the rest of the field? Is he going to be right down plumb last? Or, I mean, he's not going to be plumb last, is he? He's going to come out ahead of Drummond here. He'll slot back, in theory, into a nice little gap there, Takuma Miyazono. He's onto the medium tyre, so he's not going to be a sitting duck compared to the medium shod runners behind him as well. So this will work out quite nicely for him, and he can just go and run his own race and just set the pace as he needs to. He exits out of the pit lane then at the start of lap 8 onto the medium tyres here for the former race leader.
I think that was quite clever. I think he took the penalty, right, I've now lost a bit of time. Where am I going to come out? Okay, there's a nice big gap there. Let's go into that. Let's put the mediums on and let's just run, as you say, Tom, some nice, consistent laps. Here's what we think the tyre strategy is going to be, although we've seen people coming on lap 1 for the get rid of the hard tyre, so that throw that out the window, get rid of that. But the hard tyre, it just doesn't seem to be viable in a lot of these races. It doesn't heat up quick enough, doesn't quite have that pace, and the longevity isn't worth it for the sprint races.
No, we did have a time where we had like a minimum tyre period where you had to run it for a minimum of 3 or 4 laps or something like that, but for reasons unbeknownst to myself, we're not doing that at the moment, so drivers just getting off the hard tyre as quickly as they possibly can. You can see Sasaki there just kicking up a bit of dust into the face of Valerio Gallo, who had that warning sign, if you remember, a few laps ago. Meanwhile, right behind them, Callum Roach and Jose Serrano very close to one another. Roach in third place, but Serrano bearing down on the American driver as we come across the timing line, and Serrano looking to try and make a move on Roach in towards turn 2. He's got the inside line and he's got track position, but can he make the move stick? Roach gives him racing room. There's a little hint of contact going through turn 2. On the exit, they still continue to run side by side as they flick it through the left-hander. We're going to come into a right-hander before too long. Roach it is that's still in front, and Serrano I don't think is going to be there unless he's going to have a lunge to the inside, but it's still fairly early in this race to be making moves as rash as that.
Yeah, we've seen that trouble with that first corner. You just can't quite get there alongside to go up the inside for the You need to go the long way around to get there, so you need a big overspeed, and Serrano just about got there, but Roach's exit was good enough that he could just pull back ahead and stay in third position for now. On board with Valerio Gallo, currently second in our points standings. Been a good last race out of him, of course, taking the win at Prague. Will we see a repeat here at Tokyo and the Grand Valley circuit here? I don't know. I mean, he's done well so far. He's had that one moment, but again, it's doing what he sort of needs to do, just sort of staying where he needs to be, maybe saving a little bit of fuel. But we all know following a car in front can also increase tyre wear. So here is a replay of Serrano's attempted move on Callum Roach. Didn't quite come off for him though.
Yeah, had a look on the inside there. Roach gave him racing room, fair play, because he could have closed the line there and we could have ended up with a car possibly going off into the sea. But Roach just holding firm on the outside, knowing that the track and the track should come to him a little bit later on around that corner, and so he holds on to third place. Carranza's picked up a penalty as well, so presumably that must also be for track limits, because we haven't seen stewards investigating anything at the moment. Meanwhile, Serrano there still sitting in fourth position. Carranza 1.8 seconds back of that, soon to become a little bit further back than that, which might see Inestrosa able to take profit and move himself up into fifth.
I get the impression that both Roach and Gallo are getting just a little bit impatient now. I don't like that stat. Not a fan of that stat.
Is that because your parents are
It's because I'm very close to that myself, and they've got blowing this stat up. Whatever. Anyway,
how's your back today? Is it all right?
I don't want to talk about it.
Did you squeak when you woke up? Did you have to stick some WD-40 on it or something? that happens as you get older, right? So I've heard.
Anyway. Leave me alone.
Valerio Gallo it is at least. Look at the fuel consumption, by the way. We were mentioning about that a little bit earlier on. Miyazono, who led this race quite comfortably by a margin of about 4 seconds or so when he came in for his pit stop, he's only used a litre of fuel more than Takuma Sasaki, so it's working out quite nicely for him here so far.
Callum Roach, though, who we said has been quite quick, is really using quite a lot of fuel at the moment, so he needs to bring that down. Yeah, and as we said earlier on, we reckon it's about 35 litres extra you're going to need to box for to complete this race distance. Look in the mirrors, you can see just behind there, Valerio Gallo, Callum Roach there, large in the mirrors once again. Will he go for a move? He's going to stay there for now. I think he knows he's got to save that fuel. Big lift there from Callum Roach just to make sure that he can match these guys on fuel. 13
seconds it will take for that extra 35 litres to go into the tank. Just a bit of quick
maths.
I know, I tell you what, it's like I listen to the briefings that we have before the start of this one. Jose Serrano now right on the back of Callum Roach once again. The top two trying to build a bit of a gap out to the likes of Roach and Serrano, just to give them that bit of breathing space, really. It's important that they're able to run their own race and not get too much bother from behind. It's going to be a bit of a slow burner, this one, so once the strategies all begin to diverge and then they pick up a little bit later on, we'll see exactly how it is all going to play out. At the moment, Miyazono is doing an absolutely superlative job. What's his pace relative to the other medium shot runners? 27.6? That's pretty good. It's not the fastest, but it's okay, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in the ballpark. It's one of the quicker medium runners, but it's faster than the guys up front by a fair bit, so that's one to keep an eye on, it seems, because all the while Miyazono is lapping quicker than the cars that we're watching right now. When all the pit stops are said and done, that gap's going to come back to him. Callum Roach getting it a bit wrong there through the right hander. That'll make these next set of corners even more difficult. It'll be slow off his exit. Serrano might have a chance there, just dipping a wheel there into that gravel on the outside. You can only dip it in there a little bit though. You saw what happened to Gallo when he tried it, almost lost the car. Through the tunnel with them, and then back out into the sunshine as we go on to lap 12 of 27. Serrano here in the tow of Callum Roach. Will he lift? Let's have a look. No, he's going for it. He thinks he's a bit quicker than the cars in front. He's going to try and go for the move now. Yeah, forced it this time. Late on the brakes. Comes back across the front of Callum Roach. Forced him to slow down. But a little bit of oversteer on exit. But I think he's still got the move made.
Yeah, that's the beauty of that corner, is it can just give you an opportunity to live another day, as it were. Roach is not going to take this one lying down, though. He might try and send it back through on the inside into the hairpin. Nope, Serrano's got him covered off for now. So Roach is going to have to think about it a little bit later on in the lap. The thing is, though, look at what that's done. It's only one overtake, but the gap it's built for Gallo is up to 1.2 seconds or so, from about 0.6 of a second, so it's doubled just as a result of that one manoeuvre.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Valerio Gallo right now, I am P2 in the standings. My main rival is currently last and not going to score any points. Miyazono, I guess now, would be the closest in the standings to him, seemingly out front just take it easy, I think, at this point, because whatever happens, the gap going into the grand final isn't, into the world final isn't going to be big enough that you can be comfortable. So I think just take it easy for now, Valerio. Save that little bit of fuel. Think about the long race here, as I think he is doing, and no more silly mistakes. Because sometimes the mistakes creep in for Valerio. He's under pressure.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he's wise to that one. Miyazono's been able to bring the gap down to Adriano Corazza to about 2 seconds or so. So these medium tyres, again, now coming towards the end of where they need to be, really.
Pace is good.
So that means that they're going to be coming into the pits before too long. Lap 13 out of 27 we are, and you can see just how much Miyazono picked off of Takuma Sasaki in terms of the lap time difference. 0.3 of a second on lap 10, nearly a second on lap 11, and that gap is going to just increase over the next couple of laps or so, depending on when Sasaki decides to come into the box.
Yeah, I mean, like every lap, it's 6 tenths average there between all of those. So really is getting on now. It's Takuma Miyazono. He's got to do this. This is the stint, the important stint for him. Whenever you have clear track in front of you, you've got to push into that gap. You've got to really use a tyre when you can. Sasaki, I get the impression he is trying hard, but the tyres are just starting to fall away from him now. Those rear tyres are getting to a point where they're going to start being... Basically, you start sliding, they heat up more, you slide more, and it's just you just tumble down the well from there, you know.
So put a bit of flesh on the bones for me, Jimmy. If you're Takuma Miyazono, you've got to get yourself into that zone. How do you not let the pressure come to you as a driver?
I mean, to be honest, it's quite easy when you have no one around you. You just go, right, okay, I know how to drive this circuit, I know my braking points, I know the speed I have. Let yourself get into that rhythm. I mean, I know there's a big crowd behind you. I know you can hear the commentary as you're in the event as well, but you've got a set of very good headphones on. Just focus on what you're doing. You can't control anyone else, and you control what you're doing. Miyazono is so good at that. So we'll keep an eye on him. We'll keep an eye on how he progresses. Sasaki, of course, still out, still not boxing. Corazza opting to come into the pit lane as Inestrosa gets what I suspect is a track limit penalty a bit wide there for Sasaki. That would have slowed both him and Gallo up somewhat. Lap time-wise, Sasaki can see there 28.3, which compared to Miyazono on his last lap, we did a 27.2.
So Gallo we ride on board with then. Sasaki, a bit of a warning sign, a handful of corners ago, that snap of oversteer, and those snaps of oversteer might not sound like a lot, but they can prove to be very detrimental to your race, especially if you allow the competitor that's chasing you to get through. You can see just how committed these drivers are having to be going through this series of corners as well, going through the daylight into the tunnel and then back into the daylight once more as we head through the final sector. This circuit full of undulation, full of lots of twists and turns, and a lot of medium speed corners as well. And you can see there, that again, just going onto the curb on the outside, that's a great opportunity for the rear to snap away from you, especially as your tyres get that all more worn. In terms of the lap times, Miyazono last time around 27.2, Sasaki a 28.3. So Miyazono really in the groove at the moment, and crucially a lot faster than the medium shod runners who have not pitted yet in front of him. So we'll wait to see how long it's going to be before these drivers blink, because I think as soon as Sasaki blinks, the rest of the drivers are probably going to follow suit because they want to try and stay as close as they can. They decide not to at the end of lap 14 though.
Yeah, still going round for now. Fuel looking pretty similar throughout the top three, but Callum Roach definitely in a fuel deficit in fourth place right now. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Robbie Heck, long way off the back of the field. Not quite sure what happened to him. I think he's probably taking his fuel now and is just hoping he can drive into a gap, but he is actually not too far ahead of this little pack here, and he might end up being lapped, which disaster, of course, for Robbie Heck. This event definitely not gone his way.
No, Robbie Heck with a fair bit of work to do. Like you say, he has taken fuel, no doubt about that, but 40 seconds off the back of the rest of the field. Something of a quiet race for him so far.
There is.
Yeah, so 72 litres of fuel he's got on board, so he definitely has taken that fuel on board compared to the rest of the field. But this is interesting as well, because it kind of forces the hand, actually, of the top five, because they will need to take fuel, I'm sure, the next time around, unless they're going to do the hard tyres and just do that one lap in the middle of the race.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I'm not sure how you want to do it that way, but we'll see what the drivers come up with. We are now past midway in this race. Watching Jose Serrano, of course, Nations Cup champion as part of Team Spain in 2023. This year hasn't quite had that same fire. He's been fast, but he's not quite been someone who's been in contention for the win, I think it's fair to say, this year.
It's really easy, isn't it, for things like this to snowball as well. You start off on the wrong foot and suddenly it just gets worse and worse. And for the drivers as well, I'm not just talking about the events. Now we do see the pit stops coming in. So the top two go in, but Serrano thinks he's got enough life left in his tyres to go for one more lap. So he's going to try the overcut, the rest of the field trying the undercut. Seemingly Sasaki, Gallo, Roach and Inestrosa all in the box. Just finishing my earlier thought, it's easy for things to snowball. And if you start off on the wrong foot, your sprint race doesn't work out well. It can really, again, put you on the back foot for the grand final. Look at Coque Lopez as a prime example of that. He's made no inroads, no impression so far in this race. Now, a divergence in tyres here as well. So Sasaki has gone to the hard tyres, but is taking no fuel on board. Likewise, Inestrosa as well. But you can see the soft shop runners are putting fuel on board and they're putting the soft tyres on. So they are going to have to put the hard tyres on what presumably will be the final lap of the race.
I think the idea maybe is just to try and run that hard in the best possible situation. So low fuel and not much distance, but we'll see. There you go, refueling rate, the one that I couldn't quite say properly earlier. It's 3 litres a second, so for every 3 litres in the car, you are stationary for 1 second. And it means that you have to really think about your fuel-saving strategy around here. Be it just lifting and coasting a little bit, maybe not revving as much down the straight, or even turning the fuel mix down in car. All things you can do as a driver to control that rate of fuel.
Quite a race so far for Kylian Drumont. Was expecting a little bit more from the Frenchman, actually. I think he'd have been expecting a bit more of his season up to now as well. Didn't get an extra score in Montreal. Got a handful of points on the board in Prague, but we know that he's got the pace to be a world champion. We know he's got the talent to do it as well, but this season proving to be an uphill struggle for the young Frenchman as Serrano comes into the box at the end of lap 16.
Yeah, I think Drumont, he's very much an everything or nothing. You'll get a win or you'll get a DNF from Kylian Drumont, which, to be fair, Colin McRae strat.
Win it or bin it.
It works okay, but there's a reason why he only won the WRC once, isn't there? So